What's up? What's up, Instagram? How you doing? How you doing? It's been a long, difficult week. I've been wanting to get on here and just give my thoughts on what's been going on um, over this past week. It's been an emotional week. I've been going through a lot of different emotions from being sad to being angry, to just a lot of different emotions. Really, just I can't even explain from the highs to the lows. Um, I it just took me a long time to get to this point of wanting to come on live and speak about my thoughts and you know what I wanted to say and express how I feel about what's going on with all the riots and the protesting and everything that's going on right now. And it's unreal to me. From some of the posts that I'm seeing, it it seems like not everybody is rioting. It looks like there's a lot of peaceful protest out there, and then there's people coming from other areas making it seem like, the people within the community are actually rioting and then they said the police are doing it, and I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is that what happened to George Floyd was definitely, it was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. And though the other police didn't actually participate, but them not doing anything was just as make them just as culpable, as if they put their knee on his neck or his back or whatever. So if you do nothing, that makes you just as guilty. And that goes back to, if you're with someone that's committing a crime, even if you don't pull the trigger, guess what? You guilty. If someone dies in the commission of a crime, if you go to rob a bank and a person shoots and kills somebody, even if you was driving a getaway car, guess what? You guilty. So, and this should be the same in this instance. So I just don't get it. Just because you're wearing a badge doesn't make you above the law. Criminals come in all forms. They come in, with a badge, without a badge, So it's just a unfortunate, very unfortunate events. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. And so, I'm going to share a story, something that happened to me. And, it's crazy because this happened, it's been almost 20 years, but it's relevant to this day and time. And, so this was back in 2003, and I was still in the military at the time, and I was out with some friends, and we were going out to eat, and we were out at the time. I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and we were just driving down the street or whatever, and I might have been speeding. No, I was speeding for real. I was. No lie, I was speeding. But yeah, I was driving and I got stopped by a light. And once the light turned green, got ready to go. And as soon as I got ready to go through the light, all of a sudden, I see cherry lights. But not did I see just one cherry light. Like, they boxed me in. It was like one on my driver's side, one on my passenger side, one like dipped in the front of me. Then I seen one behind me. And I'm like, damn, all this for speeding? And I just couldn't imagine, you know, what I could have done. I mean, speeding, of all things, speeding. So anyway, I really, at that point, I wasn't, I was just like, damn. So then it got serious when they got on the loudspeaker and they was like, driver, they did their whole little scenario. Driver, turn off your ignition. Driver, take the keys out and put them out the window with your right hand and all that other stuff. And then they told me to open the door with my right hand and to step out the car with my hands on my head and walk backwards to their voice. And I complied, Didn't know why I was complying because I didn't know what I did at this point. And so as I'm walking with my hands on the back of my head, as I'm walking backwards, it's like about 10 cops and they got guns drawn on me. I mean, I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, they got guns drawn on me, like they all aimed at me. And so once I get to the officer and he handcuffs me and everything, and I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And he's not answering none of my questions. He just like kind of throws me in the back of the police car and closes the door. That was it. He didn't answer none of my questions. And so, yeah. And by this time, I'm in the back of the police car. I'm like shaking, like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And so, back to present day, I'm thinking about, damn, if I would have made one wrong move or anything, I could have been dead. You know what I'm saying? I could have been dead. Had I made one wrong move or said one wrong thing or not complied or anything, you know what I'm saying? So, back to the situation. So, I'm in the back of the police car, shaking. I didn't pee my pants or anything, but I've seen people do that. I wasn't that scared because I knew I didn't do nothing, right? But I'm in the back of the police car. I am shaking though, because I was just like, what in the world? So finally, the cop came back to the car, and he was like, you were suspected in a carjacking. I'm like, carjacking? What the? I was like, dude, I'm in the military. I said, I don't do stuff like that. I don't know nothing about carjacking. I said, me and my friends was just going out to get something to eat. So then he gonna tell me that, because we had just left a 7-Eleven or something, and I was with two other females or whatever, and one of the females in my car was flirting with some dude at 7-Eleven. And so I guess they have followed the dude at 7-Eleven or whatever. And so apparently, because they saw people from my car talking to this dude at 7-Eleven, they thought we was all together, because apparently he was involved in a carjacking. And so they assumed that we was all together or whatever. And so that's how they followed us, and it was all cleared up or whatever, and they let me go. So once they let me, they didn't even get me for speeding. At that point, I guess it didn't even matter at that point. It seemed like it took forever for that whole situation. I don't know how long I was in that car. I don't know how long that whole situation took. But they let me go. They checked me out. Didn't have no warrants or nothing. They saw I was in the military. And they let me go. So I drove probably like a block down the street. And I pulled off into like this parking lot. And I just had to like say a little prayer. Because I was still shaking at that point, because it was a very, very intense situation, and it was scary. It was really, really scary to me. But I never want to ever go through that ever again. But back to present day, had that been like, present day, and would it have turned out like that? Even if I complied, would it have turned out like that? That is the burning question. Because I did everything right. I wasn't hostile. I complied, and I did everything correctly. And they didn't know if I was with this person, or if I actually carjacked somebody, if I was armed or anything. And yeah, they did have guns drawn on me, and all that stuff. But had I twitched or stumbled or anything, would I have been another hashtag if it had happened in this time, in this day and age, in 2020? Would it have been a hashtag Natasha Williams? Would it have been a hashtag? But yeah, it was definitely a scary experience, for sure. And what George Floyd was going through at that moment in time, as he was laying on that hard, cold concrete, calling for his mama, as the life left out of his body. What was the thoughts going through his head? I couldn't even imagine, what he could have been thinking about, or what he could have been going through. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. And I thought about something. And how when we created the slogan Black Lives Matter, and then you had all these pessimistic people say, what about all lives matter? All lives should matter. And what I say to that is, I want you to think about this very carefully. Just think about this. Let's take a moment to think. I'm gonna give you a scenario. I'm gonna give you this scenario. I want you to think about it. Think about this. You don't have to be Christian or anything, but just think about this. Now, I believe in God and I believe in Jesus Christ as the Savior. But even if you're not a believer, just think of in biblical terms and think of, the passage in the Bible, if you're familiar with it. When Jesus was sitting, just think about this. When Jesus was sitting giving the Sermon on the Mount, he says, "Blessed are the poor." Then someone interrupts him and says, "No, Jesus, blessed are all people." Now let that soak in. Now let's look at in today's time about when we say Black Lives Matter. But so many people want to yell out about all lives matter. Think about that. All lives matter? Okay, think about that. Since when did highlighting one issue disparage another? So what I'm saying is, until all lives matter equally, until all lives matter equally, we need to focus on Black lives because they matter too. With all the recent events, with so many different emotions, it's very disheartening to me that people still don't understand why we had to come up with the slogan, Black Lives Matter. That's the disheartening part. That they can't see that, yes, all lives matter, but Black lives are not included in that. It's like, this is all lives matter, and this is Black lives. We've always been at the bottom of the barrel from the beginning of time until 2020. Nothing has changed. For people of color, not just Black, but people of color, Black and brown. And now we have other minority groups. The LGBT community is another minority group. So if you look at me, I have a lot of, I fall in a lot of minority groups. Not only am I African American, I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian. So when a person looks at me, I fall in a lot of categories. So when I walk into a room, I already have 3 strikes against me. So in a lot of situations, I have to fight 3 times as harder just to get what I want, just to prove myself, just to get ahead, just to do the things that I want to do, just to get where I want to be. So, but what I want most is peace, understanding, and unity. Because what happened to George Floyd and so many before him should never happen again. And we need to make sure of that by any means necessary. And on that note, I'm going to close out. And I want to thank all that took the time to come through and to listen. I want you to be blessed, stay safe, and peace.